All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're tearing down a game that is honestly one of the most uniquely challenging, structurally misunderstood, and frankly brilliant titles in a legendary franchise, Pokémon Colosseum. We're going to figure out exactly why this specific game absolutely breaks so many veteran players, how our own deep-rooted gaming habits basically guarantee failure here, and most importantly, how to claw your way back from the brink.
To do that, here's our roadmap. We'll start with the anomaly of ore, move into mastering shadow mechanics, face the Realgam Tower Crucible, break down the anatomy of a broken run, and finally, map out the path to recovery.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the anomaly of ore.
You know, when veteran players boot up this game, they bring years, sometimes decades of comfortable franchise habits right along with them. We kind of just assume the game's going to hold our hand and scale with us, right? But as you'll quickly realize, playing Colosseum with your standard, tried-and-true playbook, that means you're basically playing on hard mode without even knowing it. The safety nets are completely gone. Just look at the setting. Visually, Ore is this harsh, sun-baked, totally lawless wasteland. And you aren't some cheerful 10-year-old leaving home with a newly minted Pokédex. You play as Wes, a defector who literally blows up his own team's hideout on his way out the door. Talk about a dramatic resignation letter. Alongside your partner Rue, who can miraculously spot the corrupted auras of shadow Pokémon, you're immediately thrust into what is essentially a survival scenario. 0. That is the exact number of wild Pokémon encounters available in the entire Ore region. No tall grass, no running around grinding against infinite low-level Pidgeys to safely overlevel your team. This single, stark number completely shatters your expected power curve. It forces you to play incredibly methodically.
So instead of catching everything in sight, you're forced to rely on deliberate resource conservation in your fixed starting duo, Espeon and Umbreon, and they are exceptional. Espeon is your psychic glass cannon, while Umbreon is just this immovable defensive wall. You absolutely have to use them in tandem, especially since the entire game is built around a mandatory double battle format. Plus, your inventory is strictly limited. If you overspend on healing items early on, you will, without a doubt, completely sabotage yourself later.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, Mastering Shadow Mechanics.
This right here is the absolute core of Colosseum's mechanical identity, shadow Pokémon. These are creatures whose hearts have been artificially closed by the villainous Syndicate Cipher. And your progress is entirely gated by this strict 3-step loop to save them. Step 1. Snag them in battle when Rui flags their Dark Aura. If you miss, they're gone. Step 2. You have to slowly deplete their heart gauge by battling with them and just walking around. And finally, Step 3. Take them to the sacred Celebi Shrine at Agate Village to fully purify them. Only then do they regain their normal moves and actually start leveling up. I mean, it is a massive test of patience.
Let's jump ahead to the end game with Section 3, the Realgam Tower Crucible.
This place is a monument to Cipher's power, and it is the game's ultimate stress test. To reach the summit of this gleaming tower, you have to survive 4 consecutive boss battles with basically no rest. You get exactly 1 automatic heal before the final sequence. Use it too early? Yeah, you're doomed. Surviving this grueling gauntlet demands flawless resource management. You have to actively plan for massive threats like Metagross, respect Blaziken's terrifying speed, all while desperately hoarding your full rest stores for the true masterminds waiting at the peak.
And waiting at that peak is the final Cipher boss, Evice. His roster is an absolute nightmare, perfectly optimized for double battles, anchored by the devastating power of a Shadow Tyranitar and the sheer bulk of Slaking. His team structurally punishes any player who limps in underleveled or poorly balanced. If you lose momentum here, Evice will just seize the advantage and wipe you off the map.
So how do things go so wrong? Let's look at Section 4, Anatomy of a Broken Run.
The crucial point here is understanding exactly why players hit that brick wall at Evice, turning a tough challenge into a structural impossibility. It usually comes down to a snowball effect of earlier mistakes. Remember, there are no wild Pokémon, so your team's strength comes entirely from snagging shadow Pokémon. If you missed those catches, you lost crucial coverage moves, and if you panic-bought healing items instead of building momentum through strategic fights, well, you accidentally severed your own power curve, and now you're arriving at the endgame drastically under-equipped. But the absolute most fatal error? Skipping the optional boss encounters to snag the legendary beasts, Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. Actually calling them optional is almost a trap. They aren't just fun completionist bonuses, they are the game's core difficulty balancers. Depriving yourself of Raikou's Thunderbolt or Suicune's incredible tanking ability is basically like trying to fight a final boss with half a deck of cards. You just don't have the tools to destroy Evice's roster.
But don't worry, there is hope. Section 5, The Path to Recovery.
The real beauty of Colosseum is that it's actually deeply empathetic if you understand its underlying systems. It provides a hidden safety net, meaning you don't have to restart your entire save file. Just follow this 3-step comeback strategy. First, retreat to Emp Battle to grind 20 to 30 trainers. This passively purifies your team and generates much-needed cash. Second, go back and re-snag those legendary beasts. Even securing just one changes the math in your favor. Finally, fully purify your double battle anchors. Think Pokemon like Quagsire or Misdravez to secure some stability. This is exactly how you structurally repair your team's momentum.
If you can execute that strategy and finally take down Evice, you are rewarded with hands down one of the most cinematic moments in the entire franchise. As the villain tries to flee in his helicopter, the legendary Ho-Oh materializes from the heavens and literally incinerates the chopper with a secret blaze. It's not just some flashy cutscene either. It feels like this divine acknowledgement that you have undone the corruption and finally brought light back to Ore.
Ultimately, conquering Ore isn't about passive grinding or brute force. It's a testament to strategy, patience, and mastering a system that flat-out refuses to hold your hand. It asks a pretty fundamental question. What makes a true Pokemon master? Is it raw, overwhelming power, or the adaptability to bring light to a structurally unforgiving land of shadows? Thanks for joining this explainer, and I hope it gives you a whole new perspective on the mechanics driving the games we love.